Night had arrived, leaving the moon to light the innocent sky. As the night grew darker, the moonlit sky quickly became saturated with alternating red and blue lights. Police yelling encapsulated the cool air while a man, a law-abiding citizen, lay helplessly surrounded. He was surrounded by officers, all impatiently waiting to lend a cruel hand. Soon after, the officers dragged the man to his feet, read the man his rights, and forced the man into their patrol car. Then, the officers sped with the man off into the distance where the man was never seen again. Later, it said the man was booked into a system. The system was grueling and revolving. It was the U.S. prison system. The U.S. prison system needs regulation, reform, and rectification due to its high reoffense rates, proven racial profiling, unjust sentencing, high costs, and extreme overcrowding. When we look back at the U.S. prison system, we see it was founded upon personal revengeance, taking one's individual freedom as a way to pay society back for their crime. Recently, the system's transitioned into more of a rehabilitation facility to where somebody goes and they go there to correct themselves and get back to make sure the issue never happens again. To start, we'll talk about the high reoffense rates. The Bureau of Justice and Statistics did a great study on this to where they found 5 of 6 prisoners were arrested within 9 years of their release. When we put a grade on this and analyze this stat, we see that we're only about 16% successful. Anywhere else this is failing. So we're actually only correcting about 16% of the prison system population. Another question to ask is, are we only 16% safe? Well, I would say yes. That means our towns, our counties, and our adolescents and adults are only 16% safe, and elders as well. Racial profiling, on the other hand, was studied by the American Civil Liberties Union, where they put together a great story that really explains the issue here. The story starts, there's 2 men, 2 different races. One's black, one's white. They're both stopped in a routine traffic stop and held under the same laws and found with the same crime. At this point, the black male is 3.73 more times likely to be arrested. Now we have to remember that it's all the same laws, all the same crime. Unfortunately, the American Civil Liberties Union states that in states like Iowa, Minnesota, New Jersey, Vermont, and Wisconsin, these numbers jump to a 1 to 10 ratio. Black males 10 times more likely to be arrested at this point. Moving forward, unjust sentencing is a huge flaw within the system as well. In many states, they require a minimum sentencing. This is, whenever somebody's sentenced with a crime or found guilty of a crime, they're required to fulfill a minimum sentence. Unfortunately, there's about 733,000 inmates incarcerated for this exact thing. These charges are for drugs, public order, and generic charges. They're required to fulfill a minimum sentence. This is also a huge problem within the juvenile system as well. The U.S. Department of Justice states there's about 15,000 incarcerated children at the moment for status and technical violations. You might ask, what is a status and technical violation? Well, the U.S. Department of Justice defines a status and technical violation as a behavior that is not a law violation for an adult, such as running away, truancy, or incredibility. High cost, on the other hand, is also a major issue within the system. As we know, we're about $20 trillion in national debt, but it's no surprise that the prison system is a major contributor to this issue when the federal, state, and local agencies spend a combined $80 billion on the prison system. When we break this down, this is about $260 per U.S. resident. So that's $260 out of my pocket, your pocket, and everybody else's pocket. CBS also did a great study on this as well. They set out to find what it actually cost to incarcerate just one individual in the U.S. They found it was about $31,307 to just incarcerate one inmate. In states like California, this number skyrocketed to about $50,000 to $60,000 to just incarcerate one single inmate. When we compare these averages to the median family income in the U.S., we find that this is about over half the median family income. Moving forward, we'll talk about the overcrowding rates. This Overcrowding is a compilation of most all the other aspects. High reoffense rates, racial profiling, high costs, and unjust sentencing. The U.S. confines about 2.4 million people, according to the American Exchange Council. This high number forces facilities to release their terrorizing criminals back to the street. And this actually happened in California. The U.S. Supreme Court found that if they were to incarcerate any more individuals or actually keep the incarcerated individuals that they have, it'd be cruel and unusual punishment. Therefore, the state of California was forced to release about 30,000 of these inmates back to the streets. When we compare the system to the previous system, we find that in 1971 there was about 40,000 incarcerated people for drug charges. When we compare that to the present day, now 2019, we have more than 500 people incarcerated for these same type of charges, drugs. So our prison system is definitely broke. The system should not totally be discarded at all. Its intentions are on track. However, its execution is currently derailed. When we look at all these 5 different subjects, we can see that they're all related in some sort. For example, unjust sentencing overall leads to higher overcrowding. Overcrowding ultimately leads to higher costs. Higher costs and overcrowding leads to prisoner cuts. These prisoner cuts ultimately lead to high reoffense rates. Therefore, it's clear the U.S. correction system needs prompt regulation and rectification due to its sentencing, costs, overcrowding, racism, and reoffense rates. These complications need to be addressed before they develop into a national crisis.